Yeah.
Welcome back to the second episode of Mockingbird Chronicles. I'm Brian, and that is Justin.
Justin,
Oh yeah.
aka Kaplan Ahab.
Mm. So him and I've been talking, for a while, and thank you for the 17 views that we've gotten on the first one. Didn't
Woo!
expect to get not even two. So for the 17 people that's watched it, hey, awesome. Uh, but this time it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a little different. We've actually got some subjects we're gonna talk about. Rather than the first one was just kind of like saying who we are and what our intentions are, and that we're not doing this to try and get views. We're not doing this to try and get big or anything. We're just having fun to be able to look back and to for nostalgia purposes. And if it were to become something bigger to where we have people commenting, then by all means, we want to hear everyone's opinions. And because the thing is, like, Justin and I, we've not only been friends for a while, but like there was a brief time to where him and I kind of went without talking to one another, just because we like life took different routes. And because we
Mhm.
took different routes, it was harder for us to keep in touch with one another. But through recent times, past year or so, thankfully Minecraft has brought us back together. We've been very communicative, and since then we've talked about life experiences, like what's changed, and a lot has changed. Like not only from just high school up until now, but just everything in between. And like I don't know about for you, Justin, like,
Mhm.
but yeah, a lot's changed, but my opinion has changed a lot too. My overall thought of life, my overall opinion of just the people around me and where things are going to go.
I'm right there with you, man. You and I played, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years ago. I feel like that number changes every time, but when we were more frequently or more regularly playing Minecraft, and we talked about stuff, but I would say in the 4 to 5 years, since now that we're getting back in it, I feel like we've both matured. We've both been to a lot of different places and done a lot of different things since then, and I guess that's one of the things. Like, if we had recorded back then, it would be really interesting to go back and see what we talk about
Oh man, no
4 or 5
kidding.
years ago, and then hopefully, we can do the same thing in 4 or 5 years. Come back, listen to what we're talking about now.
Yeah, and I would hope that like for the people listening, I hope that people of all ages are able to listen to this, from people our own age to people younger. In fact, I would hope that a lot of younger people could be listening to us, and the fact that maybe you could not want to say learn from us, but
Hmm.
to understand like where we've came from. Because so we had talked about how in when we were in high school, which is was it 10, 11 years ago? Was it?
Yeah,
Oh
dude.
yeah, what making me
11
feel
years
old?
ago. Shit.
Yeah, no kidding. Uh, but during that time, you know, we grew up with what we knew around us at the time, which was Central Kentucky. We kind of fall under the Bible Belt. A
Hmm.
lot of conservative views in the area, and not only that, but like, well, to our knowledge, you know, the world was Richmond, Kentucky. If we wanted to venture out, you might get fancy and go to Lexington, and then you're moving up in the
Yep.
world. But that was it. Like, that's
Hmm.
what we viewed. And if you had any kind of other thoughts, you were kind of like looked at differently. If it wasn't so much of a conservative view, if you thought outside of the box, or if you just thought differently than what the way you were raised was, is yeah, you're like, oh well, they're different. They don't view the same thing, and it's like they didn't want to listen to you.
Hmm.
And it's not only much from that, but like even from like political standpoint. Like I definitely don't want to get like much into politicals or political standpoint
Hmm.
just yet, but from the aspect of like in high school, I didn't get politicians or yeah political views. I was too busy focusing on welding class and machine shop and carpentry. 'Cause I love working with my hands. I love building
Yeah.
stuff. So when it came to like stuff like that, I was like, don't care about that. I was generally involved in what I wanted to do. But whenever they came to school one day, the people that wanted us to register to vote, who was old enough, they said, "All right, register to vote." And they're like, "Well, what party are you siding with, Republican or Democrat?" And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
What do
Brian.
they do? Because, like I said, I was too busy focusing on other stuff. I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to to me at the time, it wasn't important. I was like, I don't know. I think I ended up going with Democrats just because I was like, well, I think that's what mom and dad are. I think they are. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing that name, Democrat. I couldn't tell you what it stood for. I couldn't tell you I couldn't even tell you what animal it was. I would have thought it was, was that the elephant? Was that a donkey? What is that?
I think the donkey's Democrat.
Is that what that is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. See, I didn't know that. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
sure. I guess that's what I am. But as we got older, not only did I realize, well, I should have done my homework before I picked which party, but two,
Mm-hmm.
like I was telling Justin before, it's like, whenever you register to vote, I feel like that's way too early for someone to decide what party they want to be with. Because,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, you can read in books on what party, uh, did this or did that, but you don't know it firsthand experience. You're not paying taxes at the time. You're not buying houses and
Mm-hmm.
property, or you're not the one forking out money, or you're seeing where your hard-earned taxpayers' dollars are going. So yeah, you can sit here and be like, yeah, I'm a Democrat, but as you get older, you might be like, well, I'm more Republican view, or I'm more Libertarian, or whatever it is, vice versa. You don't know until you actually get into it.
No, I think it's interesting that that you mentioned that because the impression that I get is at least the more vocal younger people, at least the ones that I'm familiar with online, anyways, are typically, I would say, more liberal. They're more focused on let's look at climate change or, like Medicare for all, healthcare for all, those types of things.
Hmm.
And it's interesting to talk about that because, you're mentioning from the perspective of, you've probably not had a job, at the time you're looking at that, or maybe it's just been a Sonic, but yeah, you're not buying a house, you're not looking at retirement, those kinds of things. Your priorities at the time are different. So yeah, it's looking into the environment is very important to you at that age, but other things may also rise in their importance as you get older. So
Right.
I'm with you, like those life experiences, and once you get out in the workforce and stuff, it can change your views.
It absolutely can, and it's not even so much from political things. It's a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yep.
could be music. It could be how you view things. Like me, like I believe I myself have mentally made a full 180 from high school up until now. Like I said, growing up, I grew up in a very conservative way of thinking. I grew up in the Bible Belt. I grew up going like a really backwoods holiness church to where the people there they had long hair, jean skirts, and that's what that church knew. They didn't know anything outside of it. So if a person were to be gay, if they belonged to the LGBTQ plus community, that didn't even exist back then. Or at least they didn't have that much of a
Mm-hmm.
name. It was just like, oh well, they're gay. Well, they're going straight to hell. To hell with them.
Yeah.
Fuck them. Like, wow, really? Like, but that's
Yeah.
how they viewed it. And me growing
Mm-hmm.
up as a kid, I didn't know no different. I just assumed that because they were adults. I'm like, oh, well,
Yeah.
they're adults. They know better. So I assume that's the mentality I need to have. So I grew up kind of having the same thoughts. So when I got into high school, I would see people who would be gay, and I would just like look at them funny, like, why do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Now I wouldn't have the same mentality as the older folk who were at church. Were like, well, they're gay. I better go over here and punch them in the face because that'll solve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What logical reason is that? But that in their mind, that's just they wanted to do that just because that's how they thought, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But and so I grew up with that. I grew up like feeling so insecure and feeling so vulnerable to
Mm-hmm.
people who dressed differently, that acted differently. And as I got older, I got out of high school, joined military, and I got exposed to so many cultures. I got exposed to so many different ways of life. And I learned like not only like wow, there's good people in many shapes, sizes and forms, Like, it's, I don't, it was, like I said, I've made a complete 180 to where now it's like, you have to give me a legit reason for me to hate you. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
have to be a bad person. Like, I'm friends with people of all sorts of sizes and color and whatever you claim to be. You can claim that you're a, you identify as a dragon pig. Cool. I mean, if that's what you truly believe, that's cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not hurting me, I ain't gonna hurt you, and
Yeah, as
I'm
long
gonna
as you're
listen.
not going around trying to set people on fire, we're cool.
Yeah, yeah. Like, it's just all about being a good human being, a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't about black or white, because we're human.
Yeah.
Tupac, and that's that big difference for sure.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna say that stuff like that doesn't exist today. Oh, it absolutely does. I mean, it's still existing. It's just, I think it's, as I gotten older, it comes in a different form.
Mm-hmm.
I hate, as much as I hate that, I hate, I hate that it's still a thing, but it is because people are just scared.
Yeah. No, I almost feel like I don't know, my worldview, it was almost like I had my head in the sand, it felt like, until I kind of got out in the world and learned about, people with different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, it's like, man, there's this whole other world out here. There's people that think differently and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
It's wild.
like even for like when we were in school, like I appreciate our friends so much
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't realize not only how much we had in common, but how much we appreciated one another. We listened to one another. Hey, there he is. Hey, welcome,
Hey,
welcome.
Shane.
How you been, man?
What up?
Not bad. Chilling. Playing on
Cool.
a computer mainly.
Yeah.
Nice.
Got a
Nice.
First time I
surprise
turned my
guest on the
PlayStation
program
on in a
today.
month.
Yeah. Everybody, this is Shane. He's one of our lifelong friends. I think our first video we mentioned him, saying that he could make a cameo. So it's a nice, pleasant surprise.
Hi guys.
Uh,
How's the personal computer going there, Shane?
yeah.
Oh my god, dude. It's
Enjoying
amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's amazing, dude.
I'm good.
What all have you been playing on it?
Mostly Rust.
Hmm.
Okay.
You guys ever heard of Rust?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
It's kind of like Minecraft in that you can build houses and stuff, but it's different in that you're on like a server where other people can murder you, and they will a lot.
Nice.
But they'll also like get explosives and destroy your house and stuff, so they can take your stuff, and you can do that to them. And it's just a bunch of just toxic trolls.
Oh, so a bunch of Matt
I
Bleezes.
love it.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah. Oh
Oh
exactly.
God, that sounds
That's
awful.
what that game's for.
That sounds terrible. So, right before you got on, me and Justin were talking about just like life experiences and like how different we think now as opposed to when we were in high school. When we were in high school, we were under the impression like, oh yeah, life is like this or life is like that. That's how we expect life to be outside of high school. And then when we got out of high school, we're like, whoa, it's a little different now. What we learned then versus what we learn now. Have you had a lot of like personal experiences, or have you came across situations where you've had conversations with people where you're like, oh wow, this is a little different than what I imagined?
Oh yeah, dude. That's all my 20s.
Yeah, it's a big change.
It's amazing what you think you know at 19. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, and I come across people now like that are 19, 20, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I know this, I know it. I'm like, I love your ambition, I love your optimism, I really do. But I'm like, just please be open-minded and know that there's a chance that may not happen, and if so,
Yeah.
please don't be upset. And like, just because my life, I won't say my life failed, but like I've had failures in life, doesn't mean they're going to have failures in life. Like they will, but just to
Mm-hmm.
not to my extent. Their failures might be on a different scale than mine.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to definitely not to be upset about it. Like failure, I've said it before, failure is inevitable, but giving up is an option. No matter what you're trying to achieve, like, you can still keep trying. It hurts to fail, but whatever it is, you can keep trying and trying. Now, not to say that giving up is bad. If you can give up, like, I've given up my dream job, I've given up, you know, things I used to appreciate just because I've had a change of heart, because I've had a different outlook on it, and I'm fine with that, even though if I'm not doing it anymore.
Now I was listening to something that Bill Gates was saying about, where he's trying to take his charity and some of the things that they're trying to accomplish, and it's like, well, we're going to try and shoot for the stars with some of these things that we want to do, and we haven't met our goals. We failed a few times, but fortunately, we billions of dollars help, but he's like, we at least get another chance. We didn't cure AIDS this year or something like that, but we're going to keep trying. We're going to, I don't know, do whatever the hell we can. We're just going to keep moving forward. We ain't going to give up. Well, guys, I guess we're going to have to pack it in.
Yeah, life's not easy, but it's real easy if you're a billionaire.
That's true.
I'm sure there's being a billionaire comes with problems, but I don't know. I think mo money, mo problems stops at like $250,000.
Yeah.
If there's anything we've learned from 90s hip hop, mo money, mo problem.
Yeah.
That's all the stuff I know is from 90s hip hop. That's it.
So I think Brian and I had talked before. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you a few times, Brian, but how, like Jeff Bezos' fortune of how many ever billions of dollars he has, like, the same fraction of his wealth that it takes to buy a Ferrari, like we could buy a little Hot Wheels car or something. Like, I spend 1% of my wealth, and he spends 1% of his wealth and buys a small country or something like that. It's so interesting, like, looking at where you've got like panhandlers. We've got a lot of those here in Little Rock, and if you give them, I don't know, I'm just using this as an example. Like I give somebody $5, and that's some portion of my wealth, and that'll go a long way for getting them a meal or something like that. But you look at like Jeff Bezos, and for him to give the same portion of his wealth, that's me giving $5 to somebody on the side of the road. Like, I mean, it'd probably be like $100,000 or more for him, probably like $1 million. And just imagine how much that impact of him just handing out his version of a 5 to somebody. I don't know. I just thought of that. Like, that's pretty intense. Like, I can just imagine being like a panhandler in a billionaire community or something. Like, oh man, can you spare $100,000? Here, take your money, go away. I don't know. Anyway,
it definitely puts things into perspective, for damn sure. So like Daniel, the guy that I work with, he makes real good money. He just got a freaking $5 raise, so he's killing it, and he deserves it too. Like he puts a lot of hard work and effort into what he's doing. But there's like, we'll hop in the work van and I look, and he's got like, there's like a 20 and made like a $5 bill just wadded up like in his console, just chilling there, and it's been there for a while. And I told him, I was like, I can't wait to get to your level of financial comfortability to where I'm just nonchalantly having 20s laying about my truck and not even knowing it. Like, that must be cool. He's like, man, I don't know, I meant to take that out. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're just looking at that like it's a 1. Like, I'm not saying I'm broke.
Like a thing of quarters.
Yeah. Like, I'm definitely not like broke by any means, but at the same time, looking at that, I'm like, man, that's lunch right there. That's a good lunch. Hell, that's a lunch and a dinner if I wanted to make it that way.
Yeah.
Like, but for him, I mean, a man making $47 an hour, he's sure he can see that 20 is now a $1 bill. I seen a meme someone made. I don't know if it's true, coming from well, I don't know if it probably would be, because it had Jake Gyllenhaal in it. So it wouldn't surprise me. Like, he's a good dude. I could see him possibly saying this, but it was a picture of him riding on the subway, and it said, "Rich people are rich because they live like they're poor. poor people are poor because they live like they're rich. And it's true. Like, and you'll see it a lot, especially here in Central Kentucky, of like, you know, people that are struggling on drugs or people who are just getting by, and you're like, dang, you're living kind of rough. Like, yeah, but look at this new purse I just got, bro. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but your electric bill though, like, you're kind of sleeping in the dark, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this purse though, okay, all right.
I forgot who said it, but there's like getting like a $400 purse to keep like $5 in it. I
That's
can't
funny.
remember who said that. I feel like it's somebody I know.
Well, this goes back to the whole Gangnam Style thing, which is a really weird. But one of the lines in the song is like, you know, I don't want a girl that buys a Starbucks cup and asks, you know, she buys like the small version of the drink, but she asks for a big version of the cup, so it looks like she's spending more money than she actually is. Yeah, did you never hear about that?
No.
No.
Apparently that was a thing in, like, I don't know, South Korea or wherever, but girls would like, you know, oh, I want, you know, the tiny version of the drink or whatever, you know, I want a small, but can you put it in, you know, the 20 ounce, the supersized cup, so it looks like I have a big, you know, like I'm spending big. I don't know, that was apparently a thing.
Boy, that is living to other people's standards.
Yeah.
Or that's not even living for other standards. It's like you trying to show off to people that you'll never see.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
people
Also,
you-
like, who's like, oh man, look at that big cup. That's a go-getter right there.
Yep, I gotta get
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
Jump on it. Yep.
I wish I had a big cup.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. That's what solidifies my importance in life. Is just a cup.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that says a lot about me. It's got some small styrofoam cups.
Rock a
Collect-
solo.
Yeah, yeah. Stepped up my game. I didn't get those General Dollar plastic cups. I got the Solo brand. Oh yeah.
Name brand.
And by the end of the night, it's still going in the trash.
Yep.
Oh, funny. Some people do that. They will live in other people's eyes, or the whole saying, keeping up with the Joneses. Like, they'll think, well, I need to buy this and buy that because so-and-so down the street's got it too. At the end of the day, who cares? Who honestly gives a fuck? No one does. At least you shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But people do. They just think that, well, so-and-so has it, therefore I need to have it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of the sins, right? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's Porsche.
There's a movie called the 10. I don't know if you guys ever watched it. It was a weird fucking movie, but it's like 10 stories each based on one of the 10 commandments, right? And the one about that, it's he's like, oh no, he's done went and got himself a CAT scan machine. I think I need a CAT scan machine. He's just like sitting out the window, and then they just get in like an arms race on who's got the most CAT scan machine.
I like that movie. I haven't seen it, but I like it already.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's insane.
That's funny.
That seems like the whole principle. It sounds like it goes hand in hand with idiocracy, like the same trained mindset of just people not thinking for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, the more and more I think about that movie, the more and just get on Facebook and stuff. I'm like, uh-oh.
Here it is. This is
Yeah,
it's coming to reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's scary. You know,
I've been on a kick lately, man. Where like, I just can't. I don't want to sound negative, but I just can't believe how stupid people have gotten. Or maybe they've always been this dumb, and we just didn't have the internet to shine a flashlight on them.
well, and I guess that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like growing up in high school, we grew up with what people taught us about what we knew from like generations before us. They're like, hey, this is what you need to know. This is what works for us. So you should probably think the same way. So therefore, we grew up thinking that, and some people still think that until
Mm-hmm.
something happens, like a big life event happens, to where they're like, "Hold up, the way I've been thinking for years now, maybe this might be wrong. Maybe I should probably reconsider my train of thought here."
Yeah.
And I would hope
See,
that
a
some
lot
people
of
could
people
do
don't
that.
have that moment.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. They just continue like, "Nope, nope. This is
Like,
it.
no,
This
I'm
is it."
right. Of course I'm right. I'm me. How can I not be right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
exactly.
that. You got to be smart enough to know how dumb you are, and I think
Yes,
that's really
that's a good
important.
way of putting that. It really is. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that. Everyone has to admit that. I don't care what age. Like, if we have younger viewers right now listening to this, just because you see adults, don't mean we know everything.
Yeah.
Don't mean we have a good grip on life. We don't.
No.
You never will, because you're constantly learning. And just when you
Mm-hmm.
learn something, a couple years later, it's going to change. Then you have to go back and relearn it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a Joe Rogan joke where he was like, "You remember when you were a kid and you thought there were actual grown-ups?"
Yep.
I seen somewhere where someone was like, "No one's really a professional at anything. You're just doing the best at what you know how to do."
But
It's, you're just yeah.
you
It's
can learn a lot from people's mistakes.
you
Is a
can.
big part of it, or making your own mistakes. That's kind of how you get wise. I think
It's
is
really the
either
only way
listening
to
to other
do it,
people's
isn't it?
mistakes and not doing the dumb shit they do, or making your own mistakes and learn. All right, I'm not going to do that again. I
That's
do
the
that
only
shit all
way.
the time.
That's the only way.
Yeah. Or that's how we've always done it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the worst. That's
Oh,
how
I
we've always
know.
done it.
I know. And like,
That's,
oh, it kills me when I hear people say that. I'm like, you never thought of like questioning that? You never thought
well, I
of
love how
challenging
those
that?
people like drive cars and stuff. It's like, you didn't stop at the horse and buggy. You know what I'm saying? They weren't like, oh, this is the way we always done it. Why would we have a car? We have
Mm-hmm.
horses and a buggy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then those are the same people that are like, it's tradition. I'm like, well, which is it?
Well, guys, we have definitely made quite the episode this time. We've I wouldn't say we've hit like a specific subject, but we have definitely hit a lot of things at once. And for those of you listening, like we had 17 views last time. If we get more, that's cool. If we only get 2 views this time, that's cool too. But feel free to make any comments you want. Feel free to subscribe, like us, whatever you want to do. If not, hey, it's been fun us talking, and we definitely look forward to doing it next time. Uh, maybe we'll make further more than just 30-minute videos, but for now, we'll do 30 minutes and we'll see where it goes. But thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Later.